If you don't have some of these tools and softwares in your company, then you're likely leaking either money or opportunity. So I'm gonna go through 7 tools and softwares that I would for sure have in my company and 7 that I would not have. I've used all of these, I've had experience with them, I've seen how they work, I've had hands-on experience with each of these things, and I'll tell you exactly why I would or wouldn't have these tools. And there's likely some that you don't have or are missing or are paying for that you shouldn't be paying for in your company. So I'm gonna go through every tool, regardless of where you're at in your company. If you're just starting out or if you're at 2, 3, 4, 5 million per year in revenue, these tools are what you need in your company. I'll go through each one in detail. So let's start off with the tools and resources that I would for sure have in my company. Number 1 is a good CRM. Now, this is the backbone of your business. This is the one you need the most in your company, is a good CRM to handle everything about your customers: billing, scheduling, routing, collections, customer notes, everything for the functionality of your company and the technicians running routes. So the one I recommend is Field Routes. In my opinion, it's the smoothest, it's the best, it's the most functional, it's the easiest user experience, and has the most tools and resources within it for you to grow your business. So I mean, the reporting's super good, the dashboard is super clean on the front end of things, and so you have a quick snapshot of your business. Routing is super easy, tracking customers is super easy, billing is nice and easy. Everything is just super smooth for you as the owner, and there's no other software in my opinion that matches that. The second one I would say is Gorilla Desk. If you don't want to spend the money on Field Routes, I would use Gorilla Desk. It's pretty close. It doesn't have all the same features or tools that Field Routes has, but one of those two. So regardless of which one you use, I would use one of those two. And then once you do have it, you need to make sure you're maximizing the software itself. So a lot of people don't know all the different resources, automations, triggers, things you can set up in the software itself for payment reminders or service reminders or failed payment reminders or scheduling. It's just a quick way to do it. I know a lot of companies that schedule and it takes them literally hours to schedule out a month, and when you can actually do it in like 10 or 15 minutes max. So make sure you know your CRM really well, that you're using all the tools and resources. They have like knowledge base or little help centers that I would just dive into, or have your office person just give them like an hour a day of, hey, just look into that and see, is there anything we're not utilizing or that we could be using better? And after I'd been in business for several years, there were still things I was learning and incorporating that really helped my business out as far as the software side of things. So there's always new features coming out. I wouldn't over obsess about those things, but even little things like an on the way tech, you can trigger that. So when the technician's on his way, you can click a button and it tells the customer, hey, I'll be there in 8 minutes. I'll see you soon. You can trigger, so once the customer signs a new agreement, it can trigger a welcome text. Just different things that you can set up. So the entire customer journey and experience is super clean and feels like it's a massive company, but with a touch of a local company, which a lot of companies want to do that kind of thing. So make sure your CRM is dialed in with everything top to bottom. That's the backbone of your company. So you need to have a good CRM, and you need everyone in the company to be aware of it, have access to it, and know exactly what their role within it is. Number 2 is financial tracking. You need some sort of bookkeeping software, financial tracking software in your company to track your expenses, your revenue, and everything in between. So the best one I would recommend is QuickBooks. To me, hands down, the best, cleanest, smoothest, similar to Field Routes. It's the best user experience. There's different ones you can try out, but for what you pay and what you get from it, QuickBooks is the best. Now, once you have the software, you need to be using it every single day. As the owner, you need to be in there every single day, tracking transactions, categorizing where they go, putting revenue where it goes, all the expenses, and then also looking at your P&L on a daily basis to see where things are at. If you have the software but you're not using it, you might as well just cancel it. If you have QuickBooks and you can look at that daily, that's the difference between a good operator and a great operator, is they know where all their money's going, they know what they can afford, they know each expense as a percent of revenue and what it should be and where it's at right now and where it's trending to be. You can forecast the future and know where things are at. You know when you can afford to hire or to market or to buy another truck or anything you're trying to do. So having a good bookkeeping software is second in command to the CRM. And if you have that in place, then you can really scale your business hand in hand with all your customers and tracking the CRM. So make sure you have QuickBooks, make sure you have Field Routes or another CRM. Those two will be the bread and butter of your company. Number 3 is a phone system. So I know a lot of companies that still use their personal phones, or technicians are using their personal phones. So it's call customers, text customers, send reminders. You want to get away from that immediately. Right now, go get a phone system. One that you can use for free is Google Voice. So that's what I started off on. I didn't want to pay for a phone system, and it's just an app you can download, and you can have different users have different permissions. And so there's no cost of getting, actual work phones. It's just an app, and they can have a different number that they're calling and texting customers from, and that customers are calling you into. So get Google Voice if you're just starting out. There's also paid versions of it. Once we eventually got a more advanced phone system, we used Ring Central, which was really good because it had like a phone tree. So, when they call in, it has, press 1 for this, press 2 for this, press 3 for this. And also it can ring different people's phones based on what user they are and what type of call it is. You can set different work hours, you can set different voicemails and different things. So lots of different things you can do, but you need to have a good phone system. That way you're not tracking different customer calls or requests across 5 different people's phones. It needs to be centralized so it's all in one place. And then especially as you scale, you want to be able to have call recordings. And so if you can't hear calls, and you never know how your team's doing, did they offer the right thing? How are they doing with their sales scripts? Are they saving and retaining the customers the right way? Okay, they did sign someone up, but did they set the right expectation? Or this customer is claiming this. Do we have any record of our employees saying this? So all those kind of things for just quality assurance, you need to have a phone system that can track those things and that you can listen back to recordings. So I would get a really good phone system in place is number 3. Number 4 is you need to have a way to manage your reputation or to encourage your reputation. So I would recommend getting something like Applause. There's Approve. There's different softwares where after a service is completed, it'll text the customer a reminder to leave a Google review. And those automations will be just a night and day difference from what you have have right now in terms of getting your presence on Google boosted. So before we were using anything like that, we were getting Google reviews, but it was just very manual. Technicians were asking, they were texting links directly. And again, that went hand in hand with texting from a technician's phone. And then that getting messy of, now a customer's responding back to a technician and now he's telling the office. So super messy there. But if you can have a software that automates that process, that gets more Google reviews, you will climb the rankings of Google faster. You'll get better feedback from customers. And the thing is, when customers cancel, there's likely 2 or 3 events that led up to that you don't know about. And then that's why they cancel, because there's some sort of tipping point at that end. But if you can encourage feedback and get feedback from customers, good or bad, and catch those things sooner, you'll save more customers. You'll get more reviews on the good side. You might get some bad reviews, but you can save them into being good reviews now going forward and retain customers longer because you actually know where things are at. So you want to encourage feedback from customers. So you want some sort of software that just gets feedback coming back from customers. Number 5 is you need to have some sort of group communication with your team. So whether that's iMessage, whether that's Slack, whether it's GroupMe, whether it's any of those, Pronto, different softwares or apps. I personally just use iMessage and it was the easiest for me. So I had iMessage with my technicians, a group chat with my sales team, and a group chat with my office team. So by having those different group chats, it does a few things, but it's really important that you have it. So number 1 is it's going to encourage just camaraderie with your team. On the technician side of things, most techs will drive from their house, do their routes, and drive home every single day. And so you might see your techs like once a week. As a technician, that can get pretty isolating and pretty lonely, and you can feel really removed from the company. And so if there's some sort of group tech every single day, check-ins, encouragement, screenshots of 5-star reviews that are coming in, just boosting their morale, it can help them feel a part of the team that they truly are a part of, but they don't see every single day. And so it's going to help them there. Number 2, you can use it to obviously just send out agendas for meetings. And so just, hey, make sure you're here for this meeting. Here's what we're going to go over, and just keep people aligned logistically on what's going to be covered in meetings. And then number 3, scorecard update. So you want to have scorecards for all your employees. And so I would use that channel as a place where you send the scorecards and say, John got 90 this week, Tim got 80, George got 70. And then everyone can see where they stand with the entire company. And it's public right there. So guys who are not doing as well will see, I'm at the bottom of the ladder, I need to climb up. And guys that are doing well, they feel encouraged, they feel incentivized, and they feel the approval of the owner that they're doing really well. So use group communication channels for all those things. And you want to have that set up so that everyone in the company feels involved, they feel incentivized, they feel appreciated, and you don't lose anyone that just feels isolated or alone. So make sure you have something, even if it's just iMessage, some sort of group message with all of your departments in your company. Number 6 is you need to have some sort of tracking for your truck. So 2 things here, cameras, and number 2 is also GPSs. So if you don't have that yet, I would encourage you to get into that as quickly as possible. You want to have some way to track all of your trucks where they're out on the road, and then also cameras to track what's happening. And if there's any incidents, any traffic violations or any accidents or any, bumps or scrapes or anything, you can go back and see what actually happened. And if you're just now implementing this, the way that I would do it to your technicians, I would not say I'm cracking down and just want to track you guys and see what you guys are doing. I wouldn't do that, because likely they're doing a good job and they're trying their best. And so I would put it more externally. I would just say, hey guys, you guys are awesome. You're doing really great. I'm installing these. That way we can just see if anything were to happen. I want to be able to prove that you guys weren't the ones at fault, and they feel like you have your back, which they should feel that way. So get cameras in place. Anything with anyone stealing anything from the truck, anything. That way your most expensive assets are protected and you can see where they're at and they're protected, and you don't need to worry about someone driving off with it or someone lying about something that happening. It's fully, covered by those cameras and GPSs. Most times it can be just like $50 per month per truck. And so we use Azuga. Azuga was great. There's tons of different options out there and you can use whatever you want, but that's one I would recommend as far as just tracking where things are at and seeing the driver himself, what's ahead, what's going on, the GPS, and also it would track a driving score. So little things that you could never track otherwise, as far as like braking hard or sharp turning or idling or things that you never know. It would track those things and notify the office so that you can know exactly what technicians are doing, and you can actually track them on things that are impossible otherwise. All right, number 7 is you need to have some system, some software that gathers and tracks all signed docs. So there's e-sign, there's Sign Now, there's DocuSign, any of those things where when an employee comes in the business, you need to have several things that they sign. And we want that to be tracked and not just, stack up in a filing cabinet and get lost forever. So having some sort of software, usually they're free or even just like $5 or $9 per month, but having that so that every single document that you ever have signed is stored away. So you can refer back to that and always have those on file. So get some sort of signing document software. One bonus one I would say, this is number 8, is Google Sheets. And so everything else I already mentioned can track and do most everything in your company, but I would use Google Sheets and just have that in place for any of the last little scraps that you're picking up. So we would use Google Sheets just to track different pipelines of where certain people are at. So we had one for retention. So anyone who's called in to cancel but it hasn't been canceled out yet, we had a list of those people so I could always check in and see, here's who the office is working on, here's who's called in to cancel, here's where they're at in the pipeline, what they're requesting, what the office has tried to do, when the last contact was. That'd be a great place for that. Same thing with lead. Now there's obviously softwares you can get like Go High Level or the things that can track those things probably better, but sometimes those softwares are just way too advanced and have way too many features that you don't need. And so sometimes a simple Google Sheet can do all those things for you. So I track scorecards on there. We would track different pipelines of retention or sales or upsells or things like that. And just having everything dialed in there. So there's just one main Google Sheet that everyone can see and you can pull scores and pull reports from there. All right. Those are the 8 that I would for sure have in your company. If you're missing any of those, I'd recommend getting them right now. Now I'm gonna go through 7 that I would not have. I've spent money on these, I've tried them, I've been sold on them and regretted them or wish I'd never signed up for them. I've also seen tons of companies who have tried them too, and I've tried to save them money of doing this. So here is 7 that I would not have. Number 1 is an SEO company. I would not have an SEO company, mostly because your money can be spent and get way better returns in other areas. So rather than spending a couple grand per month on SEO that takes months and months and even years to climb the rankings, I would rather spend that money on an employee or on a software that gets Google reviews that I can climb the rankings faster, or just save that money and save it away for bigger opportunities later on. Lots of companies spend way too much on SEO and burn that money and don't get it back, and they wish they would have kept it. So I would keep that money. You can even just spend it on ads or things that can get faster returns and get you more customers, more money, more revenue, more profit, and then you can grow faster rather than playing the long game and never seeing those returns come. So I would not have an SEO company. Number 2, what I wouldn't have is some sort of quoting tool. So there's lots of companies out there that offer just really cool, advanced different like softwares or just things you can send customers with videos, your logos there and links to your site and all these different things. In my opinion, I paid for those, I've tried them, and it wasn't worth it. It cost a decent amount of money, and just with how many quotes we were actually sending out and also combining with what you can do through your CRM, it just didn't make sense. I was spending way too much money on that, and I could still do 90% of what I wanted to do through my CRM, and I didn't need all those extra tools and fancy things that software gave me. So I wouldn't get sold or pay for those kind of things. I would just do everything very, very simply through your CRM. Don't get sidetracked on other options like that. Number 3, I would not have AI answering agents. So AI is huge right now. There's lots of AI booming, and maybe at some point there will be AI agents that do an incredible job and can do better than humans. But my opinion is right now, with where things are at, I would not outsource that. I would not pay that money. Humans can still do a better job. They're more reliable, and it's pretty quick and easy to pick up on if you're talking to an AI person or not. Especially sales. I would not outsource sales to an AI agent, regardless of how cool it is or how great it is or what the company tells you of how much they can do. I would not do that. There's just too many loopholes and objections and different things that they need to hear that I would not rely on some automated agent to try to sell new leads in my business. So I would keep that for me as the owner or for someone in my company. I would not pay that money for AI. Number 4 is any sort of outsourcing of job posting or recruiting. I've paid lots of money to get other companies to get employees into my company, and it was not worth it. And I'll touch more after I talk about number 6 on this one specifically. But biggest thing is you can just do that yourself. Go on Indeed, just boost the post, 10, 20 bucks a day, and just manually do it yourself, and you can get the same or better results if you're doing it yourself rather than outsourcing it to a recruiter or an agency. So I would not spend money on those kind of companies. Number 5, this one's just a quick one because I've talked to one specific company that was doing this and it blew me away. They were paying for the software, I think it's called SendBlue, that sends all your text messages from your company blue, like it looks like an iMessage. I would not do that. The reason is it costs $1,000 per month and it doesn't have any sort of return for pest control companies. It might make sense in different kind of companies where people care if they're talking to iPhone versus Android or something else. As far as pest control, when you're just sending reminders about the appointment, about payment, about who's coming out, about 5-star reviews, things like that, they don't really care. So I would not spend that money. If you're listening to this, hopefully you're not spending that money on SendBlue is what it's called. But if you are, cancel that. Just use a simple texting platform, usually through your CRM, and you can get all the same results and save $1,000 a month. All right, number 6, a collections agency. I would not spend money on this. So about 2 years in my business, I was sold on a collections agency, and I saw on all these different Facebook groups, people posting about you need to get collections agency and here's a great one to use, and they saved us so much money. And so I bought it and I paid one. What I realized after 6, maybe 9 months went by is number 1, I was not getting my money back. So I was not getting the return that I expected. But the bigger issue was the collections agency was really just a band-aid to put on a bigger wound in my company. So I was trying to tape back together something that was actually functionally wrong with my company. So rather than just outsourcing and bringing this company in, I needed to actually dial in my own collections process rather than just having this outsourced company come in and try to do it for me. So for example, setting up trigger rules and field routes so they get automated reminders day 1, day 2, day 3, day 7 really quickly up front to get that card back on file, or seeing when cards are going to expire. So next month or the following month, let's call those people ahead of time to get that on file so their payment doesn't go inactive right then. Different things that you can do in your company to fix that problem up front, and so collections becomes a non-issue and you don't need to pay someone else to try to fix it on the back end. So that goes hand in hand with a recruiting agency or any outsourced job posting. Doing it that way is really just trying to outsource a problem that is more foundational in your company. If you know how to hire, if you know the right job posting to put up, the right scripting, the right interview process, screening calls up front, how to onboard new employees, you don't need another company to come in and do it for you because you have that structurally in your company yourself. So check your company, just make sure, am I paying another company to do something that I could do myself? Am I paying another company to come in and fix a problem that's actually more rooted in something more foundational that I don't realize? And now they're coming to fix the end of the problem, but their root is something I need to fix myself. So look at your company. That was one example for me where the collections agency really couldn't even fix the issue because it was more foundational and it was closer to the front of the customer experience. And I was just sending them the back end of things and they really weren't collecting money. And it was just me paying them for money I wasn't getting back. So I would not have that. Last one, number 7 is a bookkeeper. I would not have a bookkeeper. A few reasons why, but the biggest thing is most companies, when they have a bookkeeper, they're basically outsourcing all their bookkeeping to this person. And they also outsource all the thinking and analyzing and everything, but they don't realize it. And so owners will just say, yeah, I've got a bookkeeper handling handling all those things. Great, but do you know your numbers? Do you know your gross profit? Do you know your net profit? Do you know your revenue? Do you know where your expenses are at? And they really don't, because their bookkeeper is just taking care of it. And so I would not outsource it. I would keep that for yourself, save you, $300 to $500 per month. So that's $5-6 grand a year. And now you're going to be closer to the decisions in your company, and you can see where expenses are at. You're going to make better decisions, and you're going to know what you need to do as an owner because you see the money every single day. So fire the bookkeeper. It's going to take you an hour or two up front just to get things dialed in and cleaned up, but then it's literally 2 or 3 minutes per day. That's it that you can do and get your books fully cleaned, fully up to date, and get you in a place where you know what to do in your business. So I would do that, no doubt, no brainer. You fire the bookkeeper and you'll save money, you'll make more, you'll make clear decisions, you'll have more profit in your company if you're the one that's closer to the numbers. So there are 7 that I would not do. I talked about 8 that I would use. Those are the tools. If you have any other tools that you're using or considering, comment them below and we can discuss what those are. Try to think of all the tools that I did like and didn't like. But hopefully that's helpful as an owner. If you're starting, if you're scaling right now, if you're trying to bring on more tools, there's so many new tools, there's so many advertisements of different things you can add onto your company. And so a lot of owners get distracted and just start spending money in all these different directions when really there's only a few core tools that you really need. And if you stick to those, you can scale really far if they're optimized the right way. So hopefully that's helpful. If you're looking for more advice on how to scale and grow your company, check out my Instagram page at Landon Daines, or on Facebook, it's Pest Launch. And every single day I post ideas and tactics and real-time stories of clients we're working with and how we're helping pest companies scale right now. So check out the page, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.